Oh, where on earth did you guys come from? Goodness me, I've not seen this in a long, long time. God. You know, you might be asking the same thing of me because I've not put anything out on here for a long time, but the fact that you're here must mean it is time to whip out another video. So, without further ado, we're going to be coming over here to Football Manager, and we are currently have simulated 26 years into the future. Now, I thought to myself, oh, why don't we just stick with the normal 25 years in the future? But I thought, you know what? For FM26, we're going to school over 26 years instead, you know? So that's quite a decent amount of time. I think, you know, for things to have really, really changed enough. Because I thought, oh, maybe we might do a little 10 years one, but I thought, you know what, 10 years isn't actually that enough time for things to maybe um, shift about a little bit. Now, this is only the beta version, by the way, still, and we have had one update as of yesterday throughout this beta, but there are still a lot of things kind of changing out a little bit. As I said a minute ago, I was thinking of doing um, 10 years, but I thought, you know what, I might as well go that extra mile. Now, for this database, I have got a large database with loads of players in. I've got all the way in England. I've got all the way. Excuse me, goodness me. I've got both the women's and men's leagues um, loaded. We will have a little bit of a look for the women's leagues as well. Just an interesting fact to see who wins those ones. I'll be brutally honest. I don't keep up with women's football all that much and outside of FM, but that's just out of curiosity. We'll have a little bit of a look. But for men's football in England, we've got all the way through the top 6 tiers. Just because I'm a little bit nosy, we've got the top 2 French divisions loaded. Same with Germany and Italy, and then in Scotland again, we've got those top divisions there, and as well as same with Spain. I've got the top 2 divisions there. Now in the women's league, we've got the top 2 England's leagues. So that's as far as it goes. Then we've got the top divisions in France, Germany, Italy, and then again the top 2 in Spain. Now, what we're going to look at first is we're going to go see and have a little look at the Premier League. And so far, as we can see here, Liverpool have just won the recent Premier League title. Just to make sure you know, we're on the 1st of June, so pretty much seasons will have wrapped up by this point. But I'm still getting used to the new UI. The past winners page. Here we go. Past winners. I mean, let's be brutally honest. Just having a little bit of a scout through, there's been no actual surprises. I suppose Leicester City finishing third and 47-48. That's, you know what, they are the only team outside of the top 6 that have actually finished in the top 3, which is quite something. But by the looks of things, it's been largely dominated still by Liverpool and Manchester City, with the only team outside of them to have won it is Arsenal, who won it a few times in 29-30, 34, and then 36 and 37. But the majority of the times, they've either finished second or third. Brentford, I guess I've just noticed, have finished second 3 times. Fulham have done it once as time's gone on. Man United have come here a little bit. But really, I suppose Leicester, I mean, as of this real life season, they're the only one out of that top. The teams who have to finish in the top 3 to actually not be in the Premier League at the start of the save. So, and out of the teams that aren't in the Premier League at the start of the save, Leicester are probably one of the few sides that I can't actively say I'm too surprised not necessarily being there. But it's a bit of a shame that it's so just a bit boring. Is there any actual surprises? QPR for us, West Brom getting relegated again. No active surprises. You know, Southampton are getting in play with the Europa League, but this is again 26 years in the future. So, and I suppose again there's another side that actively we can sit here and say aren't much of a surprise about getting there. If you look back to the previous year, Norwich getting relegated, what a shock. Again, no other out and out surprises of teams being there. just have a little look. Oxford United have had a season there. There's the only that's the first team. I mean, even with Birmingham's recent last 10 years or so outside of the Premier League or whatever, at their current rate, I'm not surprised that they're at least had a season there at all. But again, I know QPR have been there a couple of times, and seeing them there is not a surprise. Everton getting relegated here in 2046-47. But as you know, the more it seems to be the same rotation of different teams, more or less, in the Premier League. I mean, Ipswich, of course, were a Premier League side last season, so it's not a surprise to at least see them in there once. QPR have bounced in and out over time, so have Norwich City and Leeds and Forest. But it always seems to be the same teams. Only Oxford United have been the one stand-up team to me of the top four. Stoke have got here, but Man United had got relegated in 2039 and 40 of all clubs. So they, of course, I didn't even notice that here, but they did. They made an instant return and even got back into Europe straight away. So, I mean, that, for those who know my Estonian save over on Twitch, the link is down below for that, by the way. That happened. That a similar case happened of them getting relegated there, but they seem to have made themselves back and comfortable. Really, I suppose Oxford and Man United's odd relegation seems to be the only out and out surprise over the Premier League history, I guess. Newcastle getting relegated there, but if we go down to the Championship, let's have a little look. Notts beating Ipswich in a playoff final here, which I love to see. Is there any surprises here? I guess West Ham are staying down here, being a comfortable side here. Burton, Oldham, I guess. I think they started in the National League, so the fact that they've come all the way up over this time, a little bit like Wrexham, they seem to have done a good job. I'll have a little pin, scout through the leagues to see. Tranmere, I saw, got relegated last season. Both Bristol clubs getting relegated here. That's interesting. I mean, Carlisle, again, another side starting in the National League and getting all the way up. And they seem to have stayed up here for a couple of years, to be fair. Northampton, I suppose it's not an overall surprise, I guess. There's no, I mean, we've just scouted through a couple of years and stuff. Salford getting there eventually, but none of it is I suppose some teams have got relegated and just stayed there. Barnsley, no, there's no surprise really. I suppose from the little scout through you've had so far, there's no real surprises at all. If you go down to League One, just out of pure curiosity, now where's the button? There it is, League One. Tranmere have just got up again to the Championship. Are there any interesting names here? Bristol Rovers getting another relegation. AFC Fylde there. Harrogate again. Nothing out and out surprising. Worthing, I guess, is an interesting one for those the Macclesfield, Wealdstone. It seems to be a case of a fair handful of teams. Now I'm going to be quite curious here because I'm going to have a quick look at the League 2 table, I should say, just in case there are any big teams. Dulwich Hamlet getting promoted. No. Any, just out of curiosity, on League, the National League as well. Wimbledon winning the playoffs there, and Accrington winning the league. Bury coming all the way up to here, but going straight back down here by the looks of things. They don't seem to be going anywhere. I feel like they're only, I think in terms of FM, I don't know how they're doing in real life, Bury, but I genuinely have that gut feeling that more often than not, I feel like I see Bury do well in Football Manager, but always I wonder if that's down to their reputation and the fact that they've been set to having decent attendances, so they get decent money to pump themselves up. I don't know. I don't want to put speculation out there, but that's always something that has been on the tip of my tongue. And then in the north south, there's no real interesting names, to be honest. Wickham, I guess, being down there is something. Same as Stevenage to an extent. Both of them not getting anywhere near survival. Now, if we go further down, let's look at the FA Cup. I'm hoping that it's not going to be as boring as the Premier League is. So far, it isn't already, because I know that the first two teams I saw, of course, Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, but Aston Villa and West Brom, Brentford winning it, Newcastle winning it a couple of times. Palace, of course, Palace. I was about to say, Palace have won it, but then of course they won it last year as well, didn't they? In real life, but I suppose Spurs winning it a couple of times. Bournemouth winning it here. Bournemouth, West Brom, Villa, and Chelsea. I suppose 20 years in the future, the likes of West Brom, you wouldn't really be surprised. But Bournemouth winning it in 6 years, again, no surprises really. I forgot to look at who might have finished runners up, if anyone is interested. Man United, Man City, Hull getting there, I guess. I mean, being brutally honest again, then there's no real surprises with that. And if you look at the League Cup, if we look at Man City, have just won it. Past winners. Again, I mean, Aston Villa winning it once. No real surprises whatsoever, are they? It's pretty much more or less the top 6 and then the occasional one from Villa that just seems to be the case. And they always seem to be, the runners up the majority of the time, seem to be the teams who are the top 6 more often than not anyway. Now, if we scoot over to Premier Leagues and look at League past winners, mixture of Lyon and PSG, but at the same time, I mean, it took 14 years for a team outside of PSG to win the league. So, I mean, whilst Lyon have won it a few times in the last 10 or so years, it's still no surprises there. There's really interesting teams in the second tier. France. Let me check this one again, just out of pure curiosity. I feel like all these team names are relatively familiar. Maybe it's only the beta. Maybe because it's only the beta, we're not at a stage where there's anything outstanding. I guess I did not mean to click choose a new team. I thought I just clicked add and remove leagues, but clearly I hadn't. Germany Bundesliga, will it be a surprise? See, current holders Bayern Munich. No, Leipzig have won it once, but again, I mean, Stuttgart have won it a couple of times, interestingly, but again, the majority of the time it's been won by Bayern Munich. I want to keep saying PSG, but relegation for the league table. Any interesting teams here? No, not off the top of my head. If I have a little look, I forgot one thing I did forget to do is have a little look at the winners of the French Cup. But I'll be brutally honest, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I can only suspect that's dominated by one team again when we get their French Cup. PSG current holders, but in fact, by the looks of things, recent years they've not dominated it much until they won it this year. I mean, the majority of seasons they've won it, but they have had a recent spell of not constantly winning it every year or every couple of years, so that's nice to see at least. If we go back to Germany and have a little look at the Pokal, when we get there, here we go. Again, Bayern Munich have won it a couple of times. I would comfortably say they've won it the majority of the times, even though they have had, I mean, this is a real life spell here. I suppose, to be fair, this real life spell kind of goes into the FM cycle as well. So they've had a couple of years where they haven't won it, but still, they are the outstanding team to win this competition the vast majority of the time. Serie A, which I think will be interesting. Juve have, in recent years, been the dominant team. Inter Milan, though, however, have seemingly been the one team to comfortably win in the majority of the time. Roma win it, being the only other team to maybe win it, as well as Napoli. If we look at the Italian Cup, I have a gut feeling it's going to be dominated by Inter Milan. And as we see that Inter Milan, or in game wise, it's known as New Blue Mary, haven't been as out comfortably the dominant team as the likes of PSG also have, but I would say I've still won it more than over the team. It's an interesting one though, because I like the fact that the likes of AC Milan here have at least won it. I mean, have only won it a couple of times. Fiorentina won it a couple of times. Napoli and Juventus have won it a couple of times. Mostly finishing the runners-up side of things. Bergamo, I feel like that is a name that I feel like I should know, and I've forgotten who they are. I'm sure someone will down in the comments will correct me. Now maybe when I do this again, I think what I might do. I just thought I wonder if the current beta has anything interesting to say about what might happen in the next 26 years. But I have a gut feeling that I might just have to wait before going any further forward and saving it another video on this sort of thing until after the full game is released next week. But interestingly, in Scotland, I mean, no surprises here that the majority of the time Celtic and Rangers have still been the dominant force. I would say since the start of the same, I mean, Celtic kind of started off continuing their dominance a bit. Hearts being the first team outside of Glasgow to win the Scottish Premier League in 2029 and 2030 for the first time in 40 odd years or so, 50, 45 years. Then eventually in 34, 35, Rangers then started their dominant spree. And then here, 48, 49, Hibs then won it twice in a row and became only the second team to win it for sort of however long. However, that took another 19, 20 years for it to really happen again. But still, the fact that Celtic have won it, they've been the first a team out of the old firm, have been one of the teams to win it almost immediately after, is no real surprise. Is there any point in me looking at who's in the league table? I suppose no one really there is of any surprise at all. It doesn't surprise me. Let's have a little look at the Scottish Cup. Aberdeen have at least had some kind of success by winning a couple of, at least a handful of the Scottish Cups at best. Hibs winning a few times, but I suppose the two old firm teams are still the dominant two there, really, which I guess again is it's only marginal. It's only I only say they're the big dominant force because I suppose that's what you expect from here. Premier Sports Cup though I suppose has brought a couple of interesting teams to win the competition. Partick Thistle, a team just outside of Glasgow, winning a handful of times. Dunfermline, or at least a couple anyway. Dunfermline as well. Aberdeen as well have won it a few times as well. Kilmarnock here. Hearts have won it. Dundee United have even won it. And St Johnstone, that was 2021. So, but again, I suppose only down to especially the start first 10, 15 years again. I mean, at least in this competition, you know what? I would say the old firm are dominating that one, but at the same time, there's been enough years of a gap between neither one of them have won it, and it's often, it's not been overly dominated by one particular team. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's been, overly dominant because whilst the likes of Celtic and Rangers have won it a few times, they've it's only a combined total that keeps them dominant. Again, Atletico Madrid winning it a few times, Real Madrid, Barcelona. Only those three have really won it, and those are the only three teams which have finished in the top three, except for Villarreal in 2031-32. But I suppose, as everyone knows, if there's going to be any team to win the league that isn't Barcelona or Real, everyone knows it's going to be Atletico anyway. So it's no surprise that those two are the dominant forces still. And if we go to the Spanish Cup, I always forget what the Spanish Cup is actually called. It's not, doesn't go off the name of Spanish Cup, does it really? I mean, Villarreal have won it once, but Valencia have won it. So Valencia and Villarreal are the only two teams who have won this competition outside of Atletico Real and Barcelona. Barcelona haven't actually won it that much, to be fair. But, I mean, it bounced, but to be fair, we had a 10-year period of them not only reaching the final like once, majority of the time. And then every single time then it more or less stayed in Madrid. It bounced between Atletico and Real. Now, let's have a look at... before we go to the Men's Champions League, we will have a little look at the Women's League. Chelsea have seemingly dominated the Women's Super League. The only team that haven't won it, have won it outside of them, is Arsenal, and they seem to be finishing second the majority of the time. That's an exciting little thing to see. But again, like I said earlier, I feel like a lot of these teams are often dominating. You're not getting that many surprises. So I mean, it's only 26 years, but at the exact same time, I suppose you could say maybe it's only the beta. If we look at France, the PSG again been winning a few, and then OL, don't really know who they are, to be honest, but they seem to be the dominant force in real life anyway. So at the exact same time, there's no surprises that PSG have at least had some kind of dominance in the women's game there as well. Germany, again, Wolfsburg seem to be a dominant force in recent times. It also doesn't surprise that it's bounced between them and Bayern Munich, to be fair, like it has done quite a bit in real life as well. And then if we go over to Serie A, Sassuolo, Bologna, Juventus have dominated it the majority of the time, to be fair, with Inter Milan. Inter Milan's women's team not quite doing as good of a job as the men's team in this save so far. But if we look at finally the La Liga in terms of their league, Valencia have won it, but Barcelona and Real Madrid, Barcelona have been the dominant force completely there, haven't they? But it's not a surprise to me that the only team to have won it the most outside of them is Real Madrid, but that's only twice. Valencia are the only team outside of those two to have won it at least once anyway. Now, let's go over to the Men's Champions League. If I can work my way around, Champ search bar, that's the best way to do it these days. Champions League here. Let's see. Roma are the current holders. Inter Milan have won it a couple of times. I mean, out of all the teams in Italy, considering they're the dominant force there and their saves, no surprise that they've won it. Man City winning it 3 years on a trot. Arsenal winning it quite a handful of times. PSG, Real. No, again, it's very typical FM that the majority of the victors so far are English. There's no surprise about that whatsoever. Europa League, Bergamo again from Italy have won it. Frankfurt have won it. Valencia finished second 3 years on the trot. They'll be devastated by that. But Chelsea and Leicester won it here from England. Newcastle, Spurs, Man United, Villa, Celeste. I know I can pinpoint what that team name is. Ajax have won it. Interesting, but for once, whilst English teams have won it quite a handful of times, it's nice to see that it's not as dominated by English teams as the Champions League. Now, the Conference League, we have got, of course, Arsenal, the big one from England, another team from England who have won it. At least in terms of this save, I think all three competitions, like Chelsea, but it took them a long time to be able to do that. Atletico winning it, Wolfsburger from Austria beating Aberdeen in the final. That is quite something. Brentford winning it, Wolves winning it. Lask Linz in, and Salzburg also winning from Austria. Southampton, Leicester, Trabzonspor from Turkey as well. Rosenborg from Norway is also something of Palace finishing runners up. Goodness me. Now, it's nice to see that there's quite a few teams in that competition who have actually won it, that aren't, outside of the big 3-4 countries to actually have won a European competition. I guess that's what the Conference League is half there for. But I feel like the only country that hasn't won anything in a European, on a continental scale, seem to have been what they call Portugal, which is an interesting one to me. Now, if we go over to what's it called? European Football Championship. Here we go. The Euros. Don't know why I'm clicking on this one. Password is. Oh, so we've got quite a few. How many have been done? What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Portugal have won it straight away. France have won it twice. Belgium have won it twice, and Italy have won it once. How come Italy were the host nation 2 years on the trot? That's a bit of an odd one. England finishing second here. That's, no surprise that they've bottled it in a way again. Nations League, if anyone's interested, England have won it a few times. Most times comfortably. France and Spain are the only other couple of teams ready to win it. Italy, Germany too. No, I don't exactly want the World Cup. Here we go. Women's World Cup. We could look at the Women's World Cup as well, to be fair, out of curiosity as to how that one's panned out. England have won the World Cup, however. They've still never won the Europa League. Europa League? Goodness me. Euros. But they have added to 2 more titles for World Cup titles. India and Malaysia are an interesting combo there for the host nation. Spain have won it, Mexico have won it, Switzerland won it in 2038, and Sweden are expected to apparently win the next World Cup, which is quite something. Holland winning it there as well. Holland beating Ivory Coast. It's quite a nice. I mean, sure, England have won it, the only team to win it twice, or more since this simulation began. But it's nice to have quite a mixture of teams, and the teams aren't necessarily expected to do that well. I feel like at the Women's World Cup as well, which seems to be this summer of this save. But if you look at the ones that have taken place, no surprise that the US have won it the most since the simulation began. England not men. The women's England team have beat Spain in the finals. It's good to see that they've been able to transfer their success in the Euros and convert that to the World Cup as well. So they're the first English team to win both the Euros and World Cup. The interesting thing is, though, will they be the first team to do it twice? I suppose that's the, in this, say, if we end up continuing it anyway. World Cup playoffs, not interested in those. Olympics, no one's really bothered about those, are they? 8 Women's Asian Cup, if anyone's interested. Japan and Australia are the dominant force there. Okay, right, and if we go back to, hang on a second, Women's Euros. I forgot to put the E in European. That's a silly mistake. Have the English women's... Okay, they've been to the final once at least. But, so, England won it in 2025, as we know. Haven't won it since. Sweden have won it. They do have a decent women's team from what my memory serves. France, Germany extend their dominance in that competition. Spain, Italy, France, interestingly. Yeah, okay. What else is there for me to really look at? I mean, if there's anything, if I put this out, I'm in 2 minds, by the way, as to whether I should do another 25 years worth of simulating this save, or if I just should wait till the first the actual full release is out. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. It is nice to be back, by the way. To be honest, I thought to myself, I as I always say, as I always used to say anyway, before I had a bit of a hiatus away from creating video. Like I'm an absolute tool there. Wow, goodness me. Um, as I also always used to say, I always like to keep my videos being edited. It feels more natural to me, to be honest, really. But also, I thought, to be honest, at the end of the day, whilst this beta has been out for about a week or so already, I'm still getting used to the changes in UI. So let's be brutally honest, there's no point in hiding that out, because I'm sure loads of you guys are as well. So anyway, I do appreciate anyone who stopped by, give it a little thumbs up and whatnot, a little cheeky subscribe as well. But until maybe next time, I mean, it might be another year's hiatus until I put out another video or so. Who knows? But until later, till next time, I might either see you on stream and Twitch down below, or until whenever I decide to do another video. See you later.